Communication is one of the most powerful tools we have. It shapes relationships, builds trust, solves problems, and creates opportunities. Yet many people go through life without truly developing this essential skill. Improving communication is not about learning big words or speaking all the time. It's about connection. It's about understanding. It's about making the person in front of you feel seen, heard, and understood. The first step to improving your communication skills is listening. Most people believe that effective communication starts with speaking clearly or using the right words, but in truth, real communication begins with listening, not speaking. Listening is the foundation of every meaningful interaction. It is the first step toward building trust, understanding, and connection. When you truly listen, you are not just hearing sounds or waiting for your turn to respond. You are giving someone your full presence, your full attention. And that is rare in today's fast-paced, distracted world. Listening shows respect. It tells the other person that their thoughts matter, that their emotions are valid, and that their words are worth your time. In a conversation where one person only talks and the other barely gets a word in, true communication is lost. It becomes a performance, not a dialogue. But when both people feel heard, that's when real communication begins. When someone feels truly listened to, they open up, they feel safe, and they start to communicate with more honesty and depth. To become a better communicator, you must first become a better listener. That means learning to silence the voice in your head that wants to jump in with a response. It means resisting the urge to interrupt or offer advice before the other person is finished. It means being fully present in the moment, not checking your phone, not planning your next words, but actually soaking in what the other person is saying. Active listening is a skill that takes intention and practice. It involves making eye contact, showing interest through your body language, nodding occasionally, or giving small verbal cues like "I see" or "go on." These simple signals show the speaker that you are with them, that you're not just physically present but mentally and emotionally present as well, and that presence builds trust. Listening also means reflecting and clarifying what you hear, so that there is no misunderstanding. You can say things like, "So what I'm hearing is," or "Do you mean that?" This not only helps you understand the message better, but it also makes the other person feel acknowledged and validated. It shows that you care enough to get it right, and in doing so, you make communication smoother and more effective. Often people think that speaking makes them powerful or persuasive, but the truth is that listening gives you the upper hand. Because when you listen, you learn what the other person values, what they're afraid of, what they're excited about, and once you understand those things, you can respond in a way that actually reaches them on a deeper level. Good listening allows you to speak to someone's heart, not just their ears. In relationships, whether personal or professional, poor communication often stems from poor listening. Partners argue because they feel misunderstood. Employees feel disengaged because their ideas aren't heard. Leaders lose respect when they don't listen to the people they lead. But when someone feels genuinely listened to, the entire dynamic changes. Conflict becomes cooperation, frustration turns into clarity, and silence becomes a shared moment rather than a gap to be filled. Listening also helps you regulate your own emotions. When you focus on understanding rather than reacting, you become less defensive, more curious, and more compassionate. You're less likely to take things personally and more likely to see the bigger picture. It becomes easier to resolve conflict when your goal is to understand rather than win, and this shift in mindset transforms your communication from combative to constructive. A habit of listening also sharpens your perception. You start to pick up on what's not being said. You begin to hear the hesitation in someone's voice or notice the subtle changes in their expression, and those small cues can give you deep insights into how they're really feeling. Emotional intelligence is built on this kind of awareness, and it starts with paying attention, not just to words, but to people. Good listeners don't just listen when things are calm, they listen in the hard moments too, when someone is emotional or upset. Most people want to fix it or give advice, but often what's needed most is silence and empathy. Sometimes just saying "I'm here for you" or "I hear you" is enough to make someone feel better. Listening isn't about having the answers. It's about offering your presence and making someone feel less alone in their experience. Even in public speaking or leadership roles, the best communicators are the ones who know how to listen first. They listen to their audience, they pay attention to feedback, and they tailor their message based on what they hear. Listening allows them to speak with relevance and impact rather than just delivering. A speech that doesn't connect. The same is true in everyday life. If you want to speak in a way that people will hear, you must first hear them. In today's world, where everyone wants to talk, post, share, and be seen, listening is a rare and powerful act. It requires humility to be quiet and give someone else the floor. It requires patience to not rush the conversation or finish someone's sentence. It requires strength to hold space for someone else's truth, even when it challenges your own. But in doing so, you gain something far more valuable than control. You gain connection. Improving your communication starts not with better words, but with better ears. It starts with showing up fully for others in conversation, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. It starts with choosing to understand before being understood. The more you listen, the more you'll find that people are willing to open up to you, trust you, and follow your lead because they feel respected and seen. And as you grow in this ability, you'll notice your relationships improve, your conflicts decrease, and your conversations become more meaningful. Listening is not just a skill, it's a gift that says your voice matters, a gift that builds bridges, a gift that turns ordinary talk into transformational connection. Real communication begins the moment you stop waiting to speak and start truly hearing what's being said. Clarity is more powerful than complexity because clear communication creates understanding, while complexity often creates confusion. Many people think that using big words, complicated ideas, or sophisticated language will make them sound smart or impressive, but the truth is that effective communication is not about showing off knowledge. It's about making sure your message is understood by the person you're speaking to. When you express yourself with clarity, people feel confident in what you're saying. They trust your message, and they are more likely to engage with you in a meaningful way. Clear communication begins with knowing exactly what you want to say. Before you speak, take a moment to organize your thoughts. Be intentional with your words. Choose the simplest and most direct way to express your idea, instead of adding unnecessary layers that make it harder for others to follow. The goal is not to sound complicated. The goal is to be understood. When people understand you, they connect with you, and that connection is the essence of strong communication. One of the main reasons people struggle with communication is that they try to say too much at once. They throw in multiple ideas without giving each one enough space to be understood. This creates mental clutter for the listener and causes the core message to get lost. To improve communication, simplify your message. Focus on one point at a time and give the listener space to absorb what you're saying. Don't overwhelm them with too much information. Let each idea land before moving to the next. Another important part of clarity is using familiar words. Everyone has a different level of understanding and background. Using complex vocabulary may alienate people or make them feel small. Simple words are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign of consideration. Think about how often the most powerful speeches in history used plain language that touched hearts rather than technical jargon that only a few could understand. Clarity brings people together. Complexity, often divides tone, also affects clarity. When your tone is confused, hesitant, or uncertain, it makes your words unclear. Speak with purpose. Speak like you believe in what you are saying, because confidence adds clarity. People can feel when you are unsure, and it affects how they interpret your message. Practicing clarity means being confident in your thoughts and being able to share them in a way that's both firm and respectful. Nonverbal cues are also part of clear communication. Your body language, facial expressions, and gestures all support or distract from your words. When your words and actions match, your message becomes stronger. A confused look while explaining something clear sends mixed signals. Crossed arms while offering support may cause doubt. Keep your nonverbal language aligned with your words, because clarity is not just about what you say, but how you say it and how you appear while saying it. Listening contributes to clarity. Too often we assume what someone is asking instead of truly understanding the question before we respond. This can lead to miscommunication. A good communicator listens first and then answers in a clear and thoughtful way. If something isn't clear, ask clarifying questions. Repeating back what you heard in your own words also helps confirm understanding. Communication is a two-way process, and clarity must exist on both ends for it to be successful. Being honest also brings clarity. When people try to sugarcoat or avoid the truth, they often speak in circles. which leads to confusion. It's better to speak the truth in a kind and respectful way than to hide behind vague or complicated words. Honesty with empathy clears the air and sets the tone for open and authentic communication. People appreciate directness. As long as it's delivered with Korean professional settings, clarity is even more important. Whether you're giving instructions, writing an email, or presenting an idea, the success of your message depends on how clearly it's delivered. When you speak with clarity, you save time, reduce errors, and build your credibility. It shows that you value people's time and attention. It creates a sense of efficiency and professionalism that sets you apart. Clarity also shows up in how you handle conflict in emotional situations. People often speak in long, dramatic ways because they're trying to be heard, but sometimes the message gets lost in the emotion instead of saying everything that comes to mind. Take a moment to focus on the core of what you feel and what you need. Express your feelings clearly and respectfully so that the other person can understand you without feeling attacked. Clear communication in tense moments reduces defensiveness and opens the door to resolution. When you work on clarity, you begin to speak less, but say more. Your words become more meaningful and impactful. You avoid misunderstandings and the need to explain yourself repeatedly. You make it easier for others to work with you, learn from you, and trust you. This is especially important in leadership. Leaders who speak clearly inspire clarity in others. When the vision is clear, the team moves forward with purpose. Confusion causes hesitation, and hesitation kills momentum. Practice being clear by slowing down your speech. Think through your sentences before you say them. Don't rush to fill silence. Let your message breathe. This gives your listener a chance to keep up and reflect on what you're saying. It also gives you more control over your message and helps you avoid filler words or rambling that weaken your point. Clear communication is not fast or flashy, it's deliberate and strong. A practical way to build clarity is by writing. If you can write your thoughts clearly, you'll find it easier to speak them. Writing forces you to organize and structure your ideas. It reveals where your message is strong and where it needs work. Read what you write and ask yourself, would someone understand this if they had no background on the topic? If the answer is no, simplify it. When you apply this to speaking, your clarity will naturally improve. Another helpful technique is to pause and ask, do you follow, or does that make sense? This small check-in can make a big difference. It shows that you care about clarity and that you're not just speaking to speak, you're speaking to connect. It invites the listener to be part of the conversation instead of just a receiver of information. That kind of interaction builds trust and makes communication more effective. In the end, improving communication is not about sounding smart or being the loudest voice in the room. It's about making your words matter. It's about reducing confusion and increasing connection. Clarity makes your message easier to understand, remember, and act upon. And when your message is clear, your relationships grow, your influence expands, and your presence becomes more powerful. Confidence is calm, not loud, because true confidence doesn't need to prove itself or shout to be seen or heard. It moves with quiet assurance and steady energy that draws people in rather than pushing them away. In the context of improving communication skills, understanding this truth is vital because many people confuse volume with power and aggression with influence. In reality, the best communicators are often the ones who speak with composure, clarity, and grace, not the ones who dominate the room with noise. When you are confident, you don't need to fill every silence. You don't rush to speak or compete to be heard. You know your words have value, so you take your time and speak only when it matters. Confidence allows you to listen before responding and to think before reacting. It allows you to be intentional with your words rather than impulsive. It gives you the space to choose responses that are respectful, thoughtful, and effective instead of loud, reactive, and emotional. Calm confidence makes your communication more credible. When you speak with a steady tone and measured pace, people are more likely to trust what you say. Your message lands more effectively because it feels grounded. It doesn't come from a place of insecurity or desperation. It comes from inner clarity. This kind of energy invites people to listen rather than defend. It creates an environment of mutual respect rather than tension. In contrast, loud or aggressive communication often masks insecurity. When people feel unsure of themselves, they may try to overcompensate by raising their voice, interrupting others, or insisting they are right. They may dominate the conversation rather than contribute to it, but this kind of behavior often shuts others down. It creates resistance rather than cooperation. People may comply out of fear or discomfort, but true connection and influence are lost. To improve your communication skills, you must develop the ability to remain calm even when emotions are high. This doesn't mean you never feel nervous or frustrated. It means you've trained yourself to stay centered in those moments and not let emotions take over your words. Practice breathing deeply before responding in tense situations. Pay attention to your tone and body language. Speak slowly and clearly even when you feel pressure. This calm presence is what people remember and respect. Confidence is also about being comfortable with not knowing everything. You don't have to have all the answers to be a good communicator. In fact, admitting when you're unsure shows humility and authenticity, which strengthens trust. Saying, "I don't know, but I'll find out," or "That's a great question," lets people see that your ego doesn't drive the conversation. Your desire for truth and clarity does. This makes you approachable and relatable. To essential qualities in meaningful communication and our sign of calm confidence is the ability to let others speak without feeling threatened. Good communicators don't try to outshine others or dominate the discussion. They listen fully and respond constructively. They understand that communication is not a performance. It's a shared exchange. The more you allow space for others, the more your own voice will be respected. When it's your turn to speak, confidence also shows up in your body language. A calm posture, relaxed shoulders, and steady eye contact say far more than shouting ever could. People can feel your energy long before you open your mouth. If your presence is tense, anxious, or aggressive, it will affect how your words are received. But if your presence is steady, composed, and grounded, your words carry more weight. Practice being aware of how you enter a room, how you sit or stand, how you gesture as you speak. These silent messages often speak the loud. Stone of the most powerful expressions of confidence is silence. Confident people are not afraid of pauses. They don't feel the need to fill every gap in the conversation. They understand that silence can create space for reflection or give the other person a chance to speak. It shows that you are in control, not just of the conversation, but of yourself. You are not reacting, you are responding. And that distinction makes all the difference in communication. Calm confidence also allows you to receive feedback without becoming defensive. It helps you separate your identity from your ideas so you can hear criticism as an opportunity, not a personal attack. This is an essential part of communication because improvement only comes when you are open to growth. If you respond to every comment with resistance or insecurity, people will stop giving you honest feedback. But if you stay calm, open, and respectful, you build relationships based on trust and mutual development. To develop calm confidence, start by paying attention to your self-talk. What you say to yourself before, during, and after conversations has a big impact on how you communicate. Replace thoughts like "I have to prove myself" or "they won't listen to me" with thoughts like "I have something valuable to share" or "I can listen and respond with clarity." This internal shift changes how you show up externally. The more grounded you feel on the inside, the more powerful your communication becomes on the outside. Practice speaking in a calm voice even when you feel anxious. Record yourself and notice the tone, the pace, and the presence behind your words. Ask others for feedback about how you come across and be open to what they share. These small steps help you build a deeper awareness of how you communicate and where you can improve. Confidence is not about perfection, it's about presence. It's about being fully here, fully engaged, and fully committed to the person you're speaking with. It's about letting go of the need to impress and choosing instead to express yourself with honesty and care. When people feel that from you, they listen more closely. They respect your words because they feel your sincerity. As you grow in calm confidence, your communication becomes less about control and more about connection. You stop trying to force outcomes or win arguments, and instead you start creating understanding. You become someone others feel safe talking to because your presence is steady and your words are respectful. That is where true influence begins, not with volume, but with value, not with noise, but with clarity, not with dominance, but with quiet. Self-assurance. Improving your communication is not about learning to be louder or more aggressive. It's about becoming more centered, more intentional, and more in tune with yourself and others. It's about learning that real strength is not shown by how much space you take up, but by how much peace you bring into the room. Confidence is calm, and in that calm, you become someone people want to listen to, not because they have to, but because they trust you and want to hear what you have to say. Emotion creates connection more than words do, because people remember how you made them feel. More than the exact words you used, communication is not just an exchange of information. It is an exchange of energy, and emotion plays a central role. In that exchange, words on their own can be powerful, but when they are backed by genuine emotion, they become unforgettable. It is not just what you say that matters, it is how you say it. The tone, the look in your eyes, the feeling behind your words. When you speak with emotion, people feel you. They don't just hear you. Emotion gives depth to your words. It adds sincerity and creates resonance. People can tell when your words come from the heart, and when they do not, you might be saying all the right things, but if there is no emotion behind them, they fall flat. They lack life. Emotion gives meaning to your message and creates a space where true understanding can happen. Improving communication skills is not just about becoming articulate or well spoken, it's about becoming emotionally present. If you want people to trust you, open up to you, and connect with you, then you must be willing to bring your emotions into the conversation. This doesn't mean becoming overly dramatic or constantly emotional. It means being authentic. It means allowing yourself to feel what you're saying and letting that feeling come through naturally. When you communicate with emotion, you build empathy. Empathy is the ability to feel with someone, not just for them. It bridges the gap between people and allows for real connection. Instead of just hearing the facts, the other person begins to understand your experience. They relate to your joy, your sadness, your excitement, or your frustration. This kind of connection can only be built when emotion is present in the communication. Think about some of the most powerful conversations you've had in your life. Chances are they weren't filled with fancy language or perfect grammar. They were filled with emotion. Someone spoke honestly, and you felt it in your chest, not just in your ears. Maybe it was a friend saying thank you, and you could hear the gratitude in their voice. Or someone saying I'm sorry, and you could feel their regret. That's what stays with you, the emotional experience, not just the words. Emotion also creates vulnerability, and vulnerability is key to connection. When you allow yourself to show real emotion in your communication, you let others see your humanity. You drop the mask of perfection and become relatable and approachable. You give others permission to do the same. And this mutual openness brings people closer. In contrast, when communication lacks emotion, it can feel cold, distant, and disconnected, even if the message is logically clear. Tone of voice is one of the most obvious ways emotion is communicated. A warm, gentle tone can soothe, while a sharp, impatient tone can hurt. The same words said with different tones can have completely different meanings. For example, the phrase "I'm fine" can express peace, anger, sadness, or frustration, depending on how it's said. That's why paying attention to tone is essential. If you want to improve your communication skills, it's not just the content of your message, but the emotional delivery that shapes how it's received. Facial expressions are another critical part of emotional communication. Your face often speaks louder than your words. A smile communicates warmth and acceptance. A furrowed brow can express concern. A soft gaze shows care and attention. People notice these subtle emotional cues, and they often respond more to them than to what you actually say. Being aware of your facial expressions and learning to match them with your message is a powerful way to deepen communication. And body language carries emotion. Your posture, gestures, and movement can all convey feelings. If you're excited, your energy will naturally show in your hands and voice. If you're sad, you may speak more slowly and look down. These nonverbal cues add depth to your message and help others understand you on a deeper level. When your emotions and body language align with your words, your communication becomes more honest and compelling. Emotion also plays a key role in storytelling, which is one of the most powerful tools in communication. A good story told with emotion can change minds, open hearts, and inspire action. Facts and data are important, but stories move people. When you share a personal story with real emotion, people connect with your experience. They don't just understand your point, they feel it with you, and that emotional engagement makes your message unforgettable. Being emotionally aware also helps you respond better in conversations. If you're tuned into the emotions of the other person, you can adjust your response accordingly. If they seem hurt, you can soften your tone. If they are excited, you can match their energy. This kind of emotional intelligence makes your communication more effective because it shows you're not just focused on your own message, but also on how it's being received and felt. Sometimes emotions can feel uncomfortable, especially in difficult conversations, but leaning into those moments instead of avoiding them can create powerful breakthroughs. Saying "I feel hurt" or "I care about you enough" to bring this up can turn a conflict into an opportunity for growth. It can transform misunderstandings into deeper understanding. The willingness to express and hold space for emotion strengthens bonds and builds trust. To become a better communicator, practice becoming more emotionally aware. Reflect on how you feel before you speak. Take a breath and check in with your emotions. Are you calm, anxious, defensive, excited? Whatever you're feeling, acknowledge it and choose to express it with care and intention. This self-awareness helps you communicate in a way that is honest, but also respectful. Practice also tuning into the emotional cues of others. What are they not saying with their words, but showing in their tone or expressions? What emotions might be behind their silence or hesitation? Emotional listening is just as important as emotional speaking. When you listen for emotions, you respond with more compassion and wisdom, and that makes your communication deeper and more human. Emotion creates connection because it reveals the heart behind the message. It transforms communication from a transaction into a relationship, from information into meaning. When you speak with emotion, you invite others into your world and allow them to feel something with you. That shared feeling becomes the bridge that connects you, not just as speakers and listeners, but as people. The goal of communication is not just to be heard, but to be felt. Not just to deliver a message, but to make a difference in someone's heart. When you understand that emotion is the key to connection, you start communicating not just with your mind, but with your whole being. And that is when your communication truly begins to change lives, including your own. Body language speaks louder than your voice because it reveals the truth behind your words. It is the unspoken part of communication that often determines how your message is received and understood. While your voice carries your words, your body carries your intention, your feelings, and your attitude. People don't just listen to what you say. They watch how you say it, and they believe what they see more than what they hear. This is why mastering body language is an essential part of improving communication skills. Your facial expressions, posture, gestures, and even the way you move or sit all send powerful messages. They can show confidence or insecurity, openness or defensiveness, interest or boredom. In many cases, your body speaks before your mouth does, and people make judgments within seconds based on what they see. If your words say one thing, but your body says another, people will trust the body language more because it is often more instinctively honest. For example, if you are trying to express enthusiasm, but your face is neutral, your arms are crossed, and your eyes are looking down, the other person will not feel your excitement. Your words may say, "I'm really interested," but your body will say, "I'm not comfortable," or "I'd rather be somewhere else." That contradiction creates confusion and weakens your message. On the other hand, when your facial expressions and gestures match your words, the message becomes powerful, clear, and memorable. A posture plays a big role in body language. Standing or sitting upright with your shoulders relaxed but straight conveys confidence and presence. It shows that you are alert, engaged, and open to interaction. Slouching or hunching over can make you appear tired, unsure, or disinterested. Without saying a single word, your posture tells others whether you are ready to connect or whether you are closed off. This affects how people respond to you and whether they take you seriously. Contact is another vital part of body language. It shows that you are present and focused. It tells the person you're speaking with that they have your attention and that you respect them. Avoiding eye contact can be seen as a sign of nervousness, dishonesty, or lack of interest. Maintaining comfortable eye contact without staring shows balance and emotional control. It creates a sense of trust and openness that supports healthy communication. Gestures also help express your ideas and emotions. They bring energy to your words and help emphasize key points. Natural hand movements can make your message more dynamic and easier to follow. However, overusing gestures or using them in a way that feels forced can be distracting or make you seem anxious. The goal is to use gestures that flow with your message and feel authentic rather than mechanical or excessive. Facial expressions are perhaps the most direct way of communicating emotion. A genuine smile can make someone feel welcomed and valued, while a frown can signal disapproval. Even if your words don't, a raised eyebrow can express curiosity or doubt. A warm expression can soften even difficult conversations. Your face often reflects What you feel before you even speak and learning to manage your expressions is key too. Ensuring they align with your message. Even the way you use space matters. Standing too close to someone can feel intrusive, while standing too far away can feel distant. Respecting personal space shows awareness and social intelligence, and it makes the other person more comfortable. This kind of nonverbal respect enhances the quality of interaction and creates an environment where communication can thrive. Your tone of voice is technically a part of verbal communication, but it works closely with body language. A warm, calm tone matched with open body language reassures people and builds connection. A harsh or tense tone paired with stiff body language creates tension and resistance. Even the pace and volume of your voice influence how your message is received. Speaking too fast can signal anxiety, while speaking too slowly can seem unsure or disengaged. A steady, natural pace communicates confidence and thoughtfulness in group settings or public speaking situations. Your body language becomes even more important because not everyone can hear your exact words clearly or interpret your tone precisely. They rely more heavily on your visual cues. Walking with purpose, making intentional gestures, maintaining good posture, and smiling at the right moments can enhance your impact and make your message more compelling and relatable. Understand body language also helps you become a better listener. When you pay attention to the body language of others, you begin to see what they are feeling, not just what they are saying. You can sense discomfort, boredom, excitement, or confusion, and adjust your response accordingly. This makes your communication more responsive and emotionally intelligent because you are tuning into both verbal and nonverbal signals. For instance, if you are speaking and notice the listener looking away, crossing their arms, or tapping their foot, it may be a sign they are disengaged or uncomfortable. You can then shift your tone, ask a question, or invite them to share their thoughts. This kind of sensitivity turns communication into a two-way experience rather than just a one-sided delivery. To improve your own body language, start by building self-awareness. Pay attention to how you naturally carry yourself in conversations. Notice if you tend to avoid eye contact, slouch, or fidget. Practice standing and sitting with confidence, looking people in the eyes and using your hands to express rather than hide. Take note of how others respond to your body language and adjust when needed. You can also use video recordings or mirrors to observe your gestures, posture, and expressions as you speak. This helps you notice habits you may not be aware of and gives you the opportunity to refine your presence. It's not about becoming someone else, but about making sure that your nonverbal communication supports your words rather than working against them. Learning to use body language effectively takes time and practice, but it's one of the most impactful things you can do to improve your communication skills, because people are constantly reading your nonverbal cues even when you don't realize it. When your body language aligns with your message, your communication becomes more honest, more human, and more powerful. Ultimately, communication is about connection. And connection is built on trust, presence, and authenticity. Your body language is one of the most immediate and powerful ways you express these qualities. When you use it well, it becomes an invisible tool that strengthens every word you say and helps people not just hear your message, but feel it and believe it. Good questions lead to deeper conversations because they open doors that simple statements never can. Asking the right question at the right moment shows curiosity, respect, and a genuine desire to understand the other person more fully. When you ask thoughtful questions, you invite people to go beyond surface-level replies and begin exploring their ideas, emotions, and experiences in a more meaningful way. This is the kind of communication that builds connection, trust, and insight. Many people focus on what they will say next instead of what they will ask next. They believe communication is about delivering their thoughts clearly, but often forget that meaningful dialogue starts with genuine inquiry. When you learn to ask better questions, your communication shifts from being self-focused to being other-focused, which immediately deepens the interaction and brings more value to both sides. Questions act as a mirror, helping others reflect on their experiences and think in ways they may not have before. They can help someone discover their own answers, gain clarity on their emotions, or explore an issue more deeply than they would on their own. This makes you not just a better communicator, but also someone who brings growth into conversations, which is rare and deeply appreciated. Use questions effectively. You must be present and truly listen. If you're not paying attention, You can't ask meaningful questions because you won't know what to ask. The best questions come from listening deeply to what the other person is saying and picking up on what's not being said as well. They come from noticing tone of voice, hesitation, or enthusiasm, and then asking something that draws those emotions or thoughts out. Further, open-ended questions are powerful because they require more than a yes or no response. They invite reflection and expression rather than conclusion. For example, instead of asking, "Did you like the event?" ask, "What was your favorite part of the event?" Instead of asking, "Are you okay?" ask, "What's been on your mind lately?" These small shifts can completely transform the direction and depth of a conversation. Follow-up questions are just as important as the first question. They show that you are listening and that you care enough to go deeper. Asking, "Why was that meaningful to you?" or "How did that make you feel?" can uncover layers that would have remained hidden if the conversation stayed on the surface. These moments often lead to shared understanding and emotional connection, which are the heart of good communication. Great communicators understand that questions are not tools for control, but for discovery. They are not designed to trap or manipulate, but to explore and connect. When your questions come from a place of genuine interest, people can feel it, and they respond with openness and authenticity. This builds rapport and creates a safe space where honesty can flourish. Questions also help reduce misunderstandings. Instead of assuming what someone means, you can ask, "Can you explain more?" or "What do you mean by that?" This simple step can clarify confusion before it turns into conflict. It shows that you are not jumping to conclusions, but taking the time to understand the full picture, which demonstrates respect and emotional intelligence. In group settings, asking good questions can help bring everyone into the conversation. They can encourage quieter voices to speak up and ensure that different perspectives are heard. Instead of dominating the discussion, you create space for others to contribute and feel valued. This improves not only the quality of the conversation, but also the relationships within the group. Questions can also be used to guide conversations gently toward more productive or positive directions. If a discussion becomes negative or stuck, you might ask, "What would a better outcome look like?" or "What's something we can do differently next time?" These types of questions promote solution-based thinking and help shift the mood without dismissing the concerns being shared. Learning to ask good questions takes practice. Start by being curious. Curiosity is the foundation of every great question. It keeps you engaged and open rather than judgmental or closed off. When you're curious, you naturally look for more than just the surface. You want to understand the person, the story, the emotion, or the reason behind the words. And that is what turns ordinary conversation into meaningful communication. Of it, leading questions that suggest the answer you want or expect. For example, instead of asking, "Don't you think this is the best choice?" ask, "What do you think about this option?" Leading questions limit honesty and make people feel pressured. True communication allows space for different views and respects the other person's right to express their own thoughts freely. Also, be mindful of the timing and tone of your questions. Asking a personal or deep question too soon can make someone feel exposed or uncomfortable. Gauge the energy and comfort level of the conversation. Before going deeper, start with lighter questions and gradually build up to more meaningful ones. Trust takes time, and deeper questions require a sense of safety to be answered truthfully. In professional communication, asking clear, well-structured questions can lead to better outcomes in meetings, presentations, and collaborations. Instead of stating everything, ask, "How can we approach this differently?" or "What's one challenge we need to solve first?" These types of questions engage people in problem solving and create a collaborative atmosphere rather than a one-sided exchange. Even in personal relationships, questions are essential to keeping the bond strong. Asking your partner, friend, or family member, "How was your day?" is a good start. But going further with, "What was something that made you smile today?" or "Is there anything you need from me right now?" creates deeper emotional connection and makes the other person feel seen and cared for. Good questions also help you learn from others. Everyone has knowledge, experience, or insight you do not. And the right question can unlock that treasure. Whether it's asking, "How did you learn that?" or "What helped you overcome that challenge?" you gain wisdom while also showing appreciation for the other person's journey. This type of communication is mutually enriching and builds lasting respect. To develop this skill, reflect on the questions you ask daily. Are they opening The door to deeper conversation or closing it are the encouraging expression, or limiting it. The more you pay attention to the quality of your questions, the more intentional your communication will be. In the end, good communication is not just about expressing yourself, it's about drawing others out and understanding them better. And there is no better way to do that than by asking questions that come from a place of honesty, empathy, and curiosity. When you make it your habit to ask more and speak less, you'll discover that people open up in ways they never have before, and your conversations will become more meaningful than ever. Empathy turns ordinary talk into meaningful dialogue because it brings emotion, understanding, and connection into communication. When you speak with empathy, you do more than just share words or information. You create a space where people feel seen, heard, and valued. Empathy is the ability to step into someone else's shoes, to feel what they feel and understand their perspective without judgment. And when you bring that into a conversation, everything changes. The tone shifts, the trust grows, and the conversation deepens. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. They wait for their turn to speak instead of fully absorbing what the other person is saying. Empathy requires a different approach. It asks you to slow down and really listen to not only the words, but also the emotions behind them. When someone is sharing something difficult or meaningful, empathy allows you to stay present and supportive instead of jumping in with advice, solutions, or opinions. This presence is powerful because it tells the other person that they matter. In communication, empathy shows itself in both words and actions. It shows in the way you nod in understanding, in the gentle tone of your voice, and in the language you use. Phrases like, "That sounds really difficult," or "I can see why you'd feel that way," create a sense of safety and connection. These are not just polite responses, they are bridges to deeper understanding. They validate the other person's experience and open the door for more honest and open dialogue. Empathy is not about fixing the other person's problem. It is about being with them in their experience. Sometimes the best way to support someone is to simply listen with your full attention, without interruption, without rushing them, without offering advice unless asked. This kind of listening is rare and deeply healing. It makes people feel that they are not alone and that their emotions are understood and accepted. Empathy helps you move beyond assumptions. Often we interpret someone's behavior based on our own perspective, but empathy challenges us to consider what might be going on beneath the surface. Maybe that person who seems distant is dealing with anxiety. Maybe the one who's irritable is overwhelmed with stress. Instead of reacting with frustration, empathy invites curiosity and patience, which leads to more constructive and meaningful communication. Professional settings. Empathy strengthens teamwork and leadership. A leader who listens with empathy creates a workplace where people feel respected, valued, and motivated. An employee who communicates with empathy builds stronger relationships with colleagues and clients. It reduces misunderstandings and prevents conflicts because people are more likely to give each other the benefit of the doubt when empathy is present. It also creates an environment where feedback can be given and received without defensiveness. To improve communication skills through empathy, start by practicing active listening. This means focusing fully on the speaker, not just hearing their words, but observing their body language, tone, and emotions. Make eye contact, put away distractions, and resist the urge to formulate your response while they're still talking. Let them finish, then reflect back what you heard to show that you understood. This small act can instantly deepen the connection between you. Empathy also means adjusting your communication style based on the needs of the person you're speaking with. Some people need space to express themselves, while others need encouragement to open up. Some value directness, while others respond better to gentle language. When you take the time to understand how someone prefers to communicate and adapt to that style, you demonstrate empathy and emotional intelligence. When you face conflict, empathy becomes especially important. Instead of attacking or blaming, try to understand what the other person is feeling. Ask yourself, what might be behind their reaction? Use I statements to express your feelings without making the other person feel wrong. For example, instead of saying "you never listen," you might say, "I feel unheard when I don't get a chance to share my thoughts." This shifts the focus from blame to understanding and opens the door for resolution. Empathy also transforms casual conversations into opportunities for deeper connection. Even small talk can become meaningful when you show genuine interest in the other person. Instead of asking "how are you" out of habit, ask "how has your week been?" Or what's something that made you smile recently? These types of questions signal that you care and invite the other person to share something real. That's how bonds are formed, not through perfect words, but through sincere attention. Being empathetic in communication also helps you manage your own emotions better. When you make the effort to understand where someone else is coming from, you're less likely to take things personally. You respond instead of react. You communicate from a place of calm rather than defensiveness. This emotional control is essential for clear, respectful, and effective communication, especially in high-stress situations. Building empathy takes intention and practice. It involves staying open-minded, being willing to challenge your own assumptions, and making the choice to care. Even when it's hard, it's about asking questions like, what might this person be feeling? What do they need right now? And how can I make them feel understood? These questions guide your communication and help you respond with compassion rather than judgment. Empathy does not mean agreeing with everything someone says or feels. It means acknowledging their right to feel how they do and treating those feelings with respect. You can disagree while still being empathetic. You can set boundaries and still communicate with kindness. The difference is in the way you express yourself. When empathy is at the center, your tone is softer, your words are more mindful, and your body language is more open. Practicing empathy also teaches you a lot about yourself. It makes you more aware of your own emotions, triggers, and communication habits. It helps you understand how your words and actions affect others and how you can improve over time. As you become more empathetic, you naturally become a better communicator because you are speaking from a place of awareness and intention rather than impulsive. Beauty of empathy in communication is that it creates a ripple effect. When you communicate with empathy, others often respond in kind. Conversations become more respectful, relationships become stronger, and understanding becomes deeper. It breaks down walls and builds bridges. It transforms everyday interactions into moments of connection and growth. More empathy you bring into your communication, the more meaningful and impactful it becomes. It is not about saying the perfect thing, but about being present, being real, and being willing to feel with someone. That is what turns ordinary talk into dialogue that matters, dialogue that heals, dialogue that builds something lasting and true. Respect is shown by letting others finish because it communicates patience, humility, and value for the other person's thoughts. Interrupting someone mid-sentence may seem like a small habit, but it sends a strong message that your opinion is more important than theirs, and that what they're saying isn't worth hearing. In contrast, when you give someone the space to express their full thoughts without rushing them or cutting in, you demonstrate that you respect them as a person and that you're truly listening to understand, not just to reply. Good communication is not about talking more. It's about creating mutual understanding and connection. One of the most powerful ways to create that connection is to allow people the time they need to fully communicate their point of view, even if you feel like you already know what they're going to say, even if you disagree or want to clarify something. Letting them finish first sets the tone for a respectful and open dialogue. It shows that you are willing to listen before making your own perspective known. Often in conversations, especially during debates or disagreements, people are so focused on getting their own point across that they interrupt without even realizing if they jump in to defend themselves, correct a perceived mistake, or steer the conversation in a new direction. But this habit breaks the flow of communication and can make the other person feel dismissed or disrespected. It creates tension and closes the door to true understanding. Letting others finish also helps you become a better listener. When you wait and give the other person space, you're not just hearing their words, you're processing them more deeply. You're giving yourself the opportunity to absorb the full message and notice the emotion behind their words. This deeper listening leads to more thoughtful responses and stronger connections. It turns communication from a competition into a shared experience where both people feel valued. Interrupting also increases the risk of misunderstanding because you might respond to something incomplete or taken out of context. Letting someone finish gives them the chance to fully explain their thoughts and intentions, which reduces assumptions and clarifies meaning. Many conflicts and arguments come from speaking too soon rather than waiting for clarity before responding. By simply allowing people to complete their thoughts, you avoid unnecessary tension and increase the quality of the exchange. In professional environments, letting others finish can significantly impact the dynamics of a team or group. It shows leadership, emotional intelligence, and confidence. A person who doesn't feel the need to interrupt or dominate the conversation earns respect because they display self-control and maturity in meetings and discussions. The best communicators are often the ones who speak less, but listen more, and when they do speak, their words carry more weight because they've taken the time to understand the full picture. Respecting the speaker also makes people feel psychologically safe, which is essential for honest communication. When people know they won't be interrupted or dismissed, they're more likely to share openly and authentically. They feel that their thoughts are welcome and their voice matters. This leads to more creativity, better collaboration, and stronger trust across all kinds of relationships, from personal to professional. This principle applies to family conversations, friendships, romantic relationships, and casual interactions as well. Letting a friend or partner finish their thought without jumping in shows that you care about what they're saying. It shows you're not just waiting for your turn to talk or trying to win an argument. It shows that the relationship matters more than being right, and that kind of respect strengthens emotional bonds and reduces conflict. It's also important to remember that some people take longer to express their thoughts. They may need time to find the right words or feel nervous about speaking up. Interrupting these individuals can discourage them from speaking at all and reinforce feelings of inadequacy or exclusion. When you let them finish, you encourage their voice and give them the confidence to contribute more actively to conversations. This is how inclusive and supportive communication environments are built. Developing the habit of letting others finish requires self-awareness and practice. It starts with recognizing your own tendencies. Do you interrupt out of excitement, disagreement, impatience, or habit? Once you identify the pattern, you can work to pause and create space in the conversation. Use body language like nodding and facial expressions to show you're engaged and interested, while still allowing them to speak fully. Keep your mouth closed until they're truly done. Even if you feel the urge to respond quickly, pausing before you speak is a simple yet powerful technique. Take a breath, count to 3, or repeat their last words in your mind before jumping in. This pause not only ensures they're finished, it also gives you time to reflect and choose your response more thoughtfully. This can significantly improve the quality of your communication by making it more intentional rather than reactive. Respectful communication also involves checking in with others and making sure they feel heard. You can say things like, "Is there more you wanted to say?" or "I want to make sure I heard you completely before I respond." These simple phrases show that you're not just listening out of obligation, but because you genuinely care about understanding them fully. Children and young people especially benefit from being allowed to finish their thoughts. When adults interrupt or finish sentences for them, it can create a pattern of insecurity or silence in their communication habits. By allowing them to speak freely and finish what they're saying, you help them develop confidence and a stronger sense of self-expression. This builds lifelong communication skills and reinforces the idea that their voice matters. Letting others finish doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they say. It simply means you're willing to hear them out and consider their point of view before responding. This open-mindedness leads to richer conversations and greater mutual respect. It invites a culture of dialogue rather than debate, of understanding rather than judgment, and that is the foundation of powerful communication. When you let someone finish, they're more likely to let you finish. To respect is reciprocal, and your behavior sets the tone for the conversation. If you want others to listen to you with patience and understanding, model that behavior by doing the same first. This shared respect builds a better rhythm in the conversation and creates a space where both voices can be fully expressed and fully heard. The way we listen and allow others to speak is a direct reflection of the value we place on them. If you want to improve your communication skills, start by showing more respect through silence. Give people the time they need to express themselves completely, and watch how your conversations become more respectful, more thoughtful, and more meaningful. Silence and pauses are powerful tools because they create space in communication that allows both the speaker and the listener to reflect, absorb, and respond more thoughtfully. Most people associate effective communication with speaking clearly, using the right words, and delivering a message with confidence. But what's often overlooked is the quiet space between words that carries just as much weight. When used intentionally, silence can become one of the most impactful elements of communication. Give the listener time to truly process what has just been said. In a world where people are constantly rushing to respond or move the conversation forward, giving someone a moment to think creates a deeper level of engagement. It allows the message to sink in and gives it room to breathe. The space can turn a simple sentence into something profound, because the silence that follows invites reflection and emotional resonance. For the speaker, silence offers a moment of clarity. A pause before answering a question or sharing a thought allows you to organize your ideas and respond with intention rather than impulse. This kind of thoughtful communication is often more powerful and persuasive than a rapid response, because it shows you are not just speaking to be heard, you are speaking to contribute meaningfully to the conversation. Silence also helps manage tension during difficult or emotional conversations. It's tempting to fill every gap with words to avoid discomfort, but allowing silence to exist can actually reduce tension. It creates a calm space where emotions can settle and clarity can emerge. People are more likely to speak honestly when they are not rushed or pressured, and silence gives them the chance to access their true thoughts and feelings. And of the reasons silence is so powerful is because it signals presence. When you are fully present with someone in a conversation, your silence communicates that you are listening with your whole attention. It says you are not just waiting for your turn to speak, you are here to understand. This kind of silence builds trust and connection because it shows respect for the other person's voice. And experienced spousing also helps control the pace of communication. In fast-paced conversations, ideas can get lost and misunderstandings can occur. But when you slow down with intentional pauses, the conversation becomes more balanced and thoughtful. The pace allows both parties to stay emotionally grounded and mentally clear. This improves the quality of the dialogue and helps avoid miscommunication. Public speaking. Silence is a tool used by the most effective communicators. Great speakers know that a well-placed pause can add dramatic effect, highlight a key message, or give the audience a moment to absorb a powerful idea. Instead of rushing through their words, they use silence to create rhythm and impact. The silence draws attention and keeps the audience engaged because it adds an element of suspense and emotional weight. Silence can also signal confidence. A person who is comfortable with silence in conversation often appears more self-assured. They don't feel the need to fill every gap or prove themselves with constant talking. Their calm presence speaks volumes and makes others feel at ease. In contrast, people who are uncomfortable with silence may speak quickly, over-explain, or ramble, which can dilute their message and create confusion. Pauses are especially useful when emotions run high. If you feel triggered, anxious, or upset during a conversation, taking a short pause can help you regain composure. Instead of reacting from a place of emotion, you create a moment to check in with yourself and choose a response that is more aligned with your values and the outcome you want. This kind of emotional regulation is key to strong communication because it prevents escalation and promotes mutual understanding. Practicing silence also helps you become a better listener. Instead of planning your next sentence or interrupting to share your view, you stay with the other person's words longer. You give them the time to fully express themselves, and you listen not just for information, but for meaning, tone, and feeling. This deeper listening leads to more thoughtful responses and stronger human connection and conflict resolution. Silence can be a powerful de-escalation tool. Rather than reacting defensively or rushing to defend your position, a pause shows that you are willing to take the time to understand. It invites the other person to explain more, and it shows that you are more interested in resolution than in being right. This kind of silence is not passive. It is intentional and full of purpose. In relationships, silence can communicate love and safety. Being able to sit in silence with someone without needing to fill the space is a sign of comfort and trust. It means the connection does not depend on constant words, but on shared presence. It's in these quiet moments that people often feel the most understood and emotionally connected. Even in interviews or negotiations, silence can be used strategically. For example, when someone asks a difficult question or makes a strong point, pausing before you answer shows that you are considering your response carefully. It gives you control over the moment and signals to others that your response will be measured and thoughtful. This builds credibility and demonstrates emotional intelligence to make the most of silence in communication. You need to become comfortable with it. This takes practice and awareness. Start by noticing your own discomfort with pauses. Do you rush to fill silence out of habit or anxiety? Can you sit with silence long enough to let it work its power? Becoming more comfortable with these moments helps you gain control over your communication and builds your presence as a speaker. And listen your pauses intentionally. When you want to emphasize something, give someone space to speak or gather your thoughts. Try slowing down your speech and including natural pauses between points. Watch how the conversation changes when you allow silence to guide the flow rather than filling it with noise. Silence and pauses are not about doing less, they are about doing more with less. They create space for depth, clarity, and emotional connection. They show that you are engaged, present, and respectful. They help you think before you speak and listen before you judge. They make your words more meaningful and your presence more powerful. In a noisy world where everyone is trying to be heard, silence can be the most powerful voice of all. When you learn to use it with intention and grace, your communication becomes stronger, more thoughtful, and more impactful. Silence is not empty, it is full of meaning. And the more you understand its power, the more confident and effective you become as a communicator. Authenticity is the strongest communication skill of all, because it builds immediate trust, breaks down barriers, and creates space for real connection. When you communicate authentically, you are not trying to impress, manipulate, or perform. You are simply being honest, present, and true to who you are. This kind of honesty is rare in a world filled with filters, performances, and hidden agendas. But it is exactly what people are drawn to, and what makes communication truly powerful. Being authentic means speaking from your heart rather than your ego. It means you are willing to express what you genuinely think, feel, or believe, even when it feels vulnerable or uncomfortable. It means you don't hide behind perfect words or carefully crafted personas. Instead, you show up as yourself, flaws and all. And this is what makes your message land with impact. People can sense authenticity. They feel it in your tone, in your eyes, in your choice of words, and when they feel it, they are more likely to trust you, listen to you, and respond with honesty in return. Authentic communication is not about saying everything you think or feel without filter. It's about being honest, while also being respectful and emotionally intelligent. It's about aligning your inner truth with your outer expression so that your words match your intentions and your actions follow your beliefs. This alignment makes your communication clear, sincere, and believable. It eliminates confusion and invites understanding. One of the reasons authenticity is such a powerful skill is because it frees people from performance. When you are trying to be someone you're not, or say what you think others want to hear, communication becomes heavy and strained. You're constantly second-guessing yourself or managing a version of yourself that isn't real. This drains your energy and distances you from the person you're talking to. But when your authentic communication becomes effortless, you speak with ease because you're not performing, you're just being. In professional settings, authenticity is a game changer. Leaders who communicate authentically build stronger teams and more loyal followers. They earn respect not through titles or authority, but through their honesty, consistency, and vulnerability. Team members are more likely to speak up, share ideas, and engage when they know the environment values realness over perfection. Authentic leaders admit mistakes. They don't pretend to have all the answers, and they create space for others to do the same. This builds a culture of trust and open communication. Personal relationships. Authenticity is the foundation of intimacy. When you communicate authentically with friends, family, or a partner, you allow yourself to be seen for who you really are. This openness invites others to do the same, and the relationship deepens because it's based on truth rather than appearance or assumption. When both people feel safe to express themselves honestly, without fear of judgment or rejection, the relationship becomes resilient and fulfilling. Authentic communication also helps avoid misunderstandings because you're being clear about your thoughts, feelings, and needs. You leave less room for assumptions or confusion. People know where you stand and what you mean, and that clarity leads to more effective conversations and fewer conflicts. Even when disagreements happen, they are easier to resolve because both sides are being honest and respectful rather than defensive or passive-aggressive. Being authentic also makes it easier to give and receive feedback. You can offer constructive criticism without sounding harsh, Because your intent is sincere and your delivery is honest, you can receive feedback without becoming defensive, because you're secure in who you are and you're open to growth. This creates a healthy communication loop where honesty is seen not as a threat, but as a tool for mutual development to become more authentic. In your communication, start by becoming more aware of your inner voice. What do you really think and feel in a given moment? What do you actually want to say versus what you think you should say? The more in tune you are with your true self, the easier it becomes to express that self clearly and confidently. Practice checking in with yourself before speaking and ask whether your words are aligned with your values, your beliefs, and your intentions. Also pay attention to your nonverbal communication. Your body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions often reveal your true feelings. Even if your words say something else, if you say you're fine, but your voice is tight and your eyes are down, people will feel the disconnect. They may not trust what you're saying because it doesn't match what they're seeing. Being authentic means making sure your verbal and nonverbal messages are congruent and sincere. Another important part of authenticity is the willingness to be vulnerable. This doesn't mean oversharing or making every conversation emotional, but it does mean allowing yourself to be real about your experiences, your fears, your mistakes, and your hopes. Vulnerability makes you relatable and human. It opens the door for deeper connection because it shows that you are not hiding behind a mask. You are willing to risk being seen, and that courage invites others to be honest. Authenticity also means setting boundaries and saying no when you need to. It's not authentic to agree to things that don't align with your values or to say yes just to please others. When you communicate your boundaries clearly and kindly, you protect your integrity and show others how to interact with you respectfully. This makes your communication not only honest but empowering in conversations, especially difficult ones. Authenticity can make all the difference. Instead of using defensive language or sugarcoating the truth, try speaking from your own perspective with clarity and compassion. Use language that reflects your feelings and experiences rather than accusations or assumptions. This keeps the conversation grounded and constructive while still being real and direct. Being authentic in communication doesn't mean you'll always be liked or agreed with, but it does mean you'll be respected. People value honesty even when it's uncomfortable, and they are more likely to trust someone who is real than someone who is always trying to say the right thing. You might lose approval from some, but you gain something far more valuable: self-respect, clarity, and deeper connections with those who appreciate the real you. The more you practice authenticity, the more natural it becomes. You begin to speak with a voice that is uniquely yours, and that voice resonates with others in a way that nothing else can. It carries confidence without arrogance, clarity without complexity, and sincerity without effort. It makes you not just a better communicator, but a more grounded and respected human being. Authenticity is not something you learn from a script or a course. It's something you build by getting honest with yourself and bringing that honesty into your conversations day by day, moment by moment. It is the core of all great communication, because when people hear your truth, they lean in, they listen, and they remember not just what you said but who you were when you said it. Keep learning. Communication is a lifelong journey. You will always have moments where you stumble. That's okay. Every awkward moment teaches you something. Every conversation is a chance to grow. Watch great speakers. Observe how they use pauses, humor, and empathy. Learn from them, but never try to copy them. Be inspired, but be yourself. Authenticity is the most powerful communication skill of all. In the end, improving communication is about becoming more human. It's about seeing others and letting yourself be seen. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Not about being impressive, but about being real. When you speak with honesty, listen with empathy, and express with clarity, your words create impact. You change conversations. You change relationships. You change lives. And that is the true power of communication.